Okay, it says I'm live. We're going to give everybody a minute or two. My intention is to make this short. I should have looked in a mirror before we started, maybe. At least I'm not in a robe. If you've been around, at least I'm not in a robe, right? So I'm expecting there to be people coming in. So we're just going to wait a few minutes. If you're new to our community, to our movement, I am Jeanette. I am the founder and owner of Fix SLP. I am a former college professor. Left 2 years and like 1 week ago-ish. What else? I have 19 years of practice, have my own private practice as a mobile fees provider, Fix SLP, have kids, do all the things. I'm going to wait just another minute and then I will start. And if people are late, I'm going to try not to repeat myself. They can just watch the replay. All right. Looks like the number's stable. Well, okay, now it's popping up again. All right, we'll just start. Okay, so I'm Jeanette. I'm the owner of Fix SLP. Thank you for joining me. Part of this movement is transparency and honesty, which is one of our gripes with ASHA, that we don't see a lot of transparency from ASHA. So as soon as I knew this was going to happen, I wanted to do this yesterday, but I just got home too late and it was too late to say I'm going live. So that's why we're doing it today. But yesterday I signed the American Medical Association, which is the AMA, basically non-disclosure agreement, their confidentiality agreement surrounding the 92507 issue. I have been working with private practice owners to help get their message out as they try to fight this. Since I have such a big advocacy platform, it was a great partnership. But it was clear that without having the full understanding, I was going to have a really hard time communicating to you everything that needed to be communicated. So as part of strategy and some other things, it just made sense for me to meet with the AMA myself and officially join their team as one of the parties fighting this officially. So I could see the documentation, contribute my knowledge as an adult SLP, and really just help and then communicate that all to you. My number one issue, or not issue, but my number one problem was that I did not want to be silenced. And we came up with this ourselves. It's not like someone was trying to silence me, but it was really important for me to meet with the AMA and ask all of the questions, because I have known all of you, or some of you were just meeting, but I know my fixers. I know my fearless fixers. And I know as a practicing clinician myself, as a former academic, as, you know, all the things, I kind of can see business owner, like where we all have these interests, and I know what kind of information you'll need from me. So if I was going to be silenced in any way or prohibited from giving the audience, all of you, the things that you needed, the answer was going to be, this isn't a good idea, guys. Let's just stay. Keep me out of this. So I got a copy of the NDA. I gave it to one of our Fix SLP lawyers who is very intimately familiar with our posts. This particular lawyer looks over everything. If I have any questions, just to make sure I'm not crossing any lines. I'm really good at advising me when I've gone too far. So that particular lawyer looked stuff over, is very familiar with NDAs, and said this would be okay, and it's very typical and in line with an NDA that you would sign. So that was great. I'm sorry, I have children. Good night, son. I will come up. Go. No. Sorry. We do this in real life. People don't understand what we do this. It's a late bedtime. I scheduled this at 9 because they were supposed to be in bed. So, anyway, so lawyer cleared it, and then I met with them to ask all of my questions. And so this is how I'm looking at it. I can't now tell you things. I've seen everything. I've read every document. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions, and I'll share some of those in a moment, but I wasn't going to be able to tell you the stuff I didn't know in the first place, right? Like, if I didn't know it, how was I going to communicate it to you? So at least now I can't tell you specifics. I wasn't going to be able to tell you the specifics anyway, so nothing has changed there. But I see someone said hiding from my children currently. I hide in the car a lot. So what this is going to do, I think, is it will help assure you that when I post content and when I put messages out, that it is coming from an informed place and not an assumed place. And I think that's really important because with this platform being so big, you really probably want to make sure that the person who's communicating to you has like seen all the things. And so within the confines of that document that I signed, it seemed to be safe. I'm going to be able to give you my opinions. Some things that might need to change that I was planning to do might have to change a little bit. So sometimes instead of direct call to actions, I might just say, hey, this is available. If you're interested, check it out. So some of my terminology might need to change. But other than that, I think that our relationship with what you want to hear and what I'm able to tell you won't change that much. So I think this is a really positive thing for all of us. And I think it's going to help us fight this because this is what's going on. And I'm going to wrap it up in a really tight nutshell for you. I saw Asha had some things out today, and I'm going to say it. I think they weren't quite honest about some of the things that they posted because I know the same procedure that they know now. And I'm on here telling you stuff. We signed the same non-disclosure agreement. They could say more, right? Okay, we're not going to dwell on Asha. Far back, I'm not even sure when. 2 years ago, I don't know. CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid, flagged 92507 because it had been used too much. This is a normal process. Nobody brought this on because they don't like SLPs. This is just, QA, quality assurance stuff. They check their codes as they should. So that got flagged. It got sent out to the AMA and ASHA as our representative, right? Ish. And there were discussions regarding this code. I am not privy to that. All of that is separate and part of a separate process that has already come to an end. So what I saw was the paperwork that led to what happened, but I didn't see conversations between them. I didn't see meeting minutes. I wasn't part of that. So I don't know who said what or who did what, but what came of these conversations were recommendations for these new codes. We know that they are timed. I have seen the codes. I have seen the times. Those things I cannot tell you. I can't tell you what the times are. I can't tell you what the codes themselves are for. But it's not hard to figure out generally. I also can't confirm or deny either way that these supposed codes floating around online are what this actually is, or if it was part of a proposal that was modified. I can't say those things. But you know what we treat. Figure it out. Cognition and dysphagia already have their own codes. Okay? So cognition, if you want an example of what they're doing, 92507 includes a bunch of stuff. Cognition was pulled out of that a couple years ago. Right now, cognition's not going to change. It is a 15-minute base code with a 15-minute add-on. So that is what I have used to this point as my example. It's my opinion that probably this isn't going to work quite the same way, that these new codes are slightly different and will have, in my opinion, different implications. So that's something to be aware of. It's pretty serious. Last night, I was reading through a Facebook feed, and we know there's trolls everywhere, but I was being called alarmist. I've read the stuff. And in my opinion, it's worse than I thought. I'm not trying to scare people, but this is something to take seriously, and this is something that we can fight. So this proposal was put forward, it was voted on, and it was passed. So this is happening. We can't modify it. There are some great ideas for modifications, and a lot of people have said, I think time codes would be good. And this is another reason why the team was kind of like, you just need to see this, because I was saying the same thing. I was apprehensive to get involved at the beginning for that reason. But then as I considered it more, I thought, even if it's good for medical, because we all know what goes on there, we can't completely ignore the other half of the field. So if private practice pediatric owners are saying this is going to cause us to have to close our doors, we need to listen to them. I see who voted on it. I'm not taking questions, but I can answer that. The proposal goes to the American Medical Association, and then it is accepted by some advisors, and when that happens, it goes to the full panel. It's very similar. I've been going through the legal process, pushing a bill through the Michigan House of Representatives. It passed, and now it's going through the Senate. Fix SLP has been doing that. It's a very similar process. I went to Capitol Hill in Michigan to testify at the House of Representatives when they were voting on it. So same thing. Representatives probably went, talked about this proposal. 200 people voted on it. Those people are generally doctors, okay? Generally doctors. So in my opinion, these proposals are probably needing to be as educational as they are proposing. So the people who are voting understand, because they are not speech language pathologists. And I made sure that I specifically asked, is ASHA in the room? Are they voting? And that answer was no. So I know people will have that question. So that's who votes. It's the AMA panel. They vote on all the CPT codes. That's what they do. So there's nothing nefarious about this process. However, there was a public comment period, I'm assuming, because that's part of the process, on this first proposal. And I think that was, in my opinion, ASHA's first huge failing, because none of us knew about it. Back in August, it was hey guys, nothing to see here. We'll let you know when it's time to, start billing. So I think that's a huge problem. ASHA put out today that they can't direct people to email the AMA or anything like that. And that is true. I can't sit here and say, you need to email ASHA. I can't sit here and say, you need to do something about this. I can't tell you that as part of this confidentiality agreement, but what they told you is true. And we know I'm not a fan of ASHA, but if they do something right, or if they're doing something cool every once a decade, I will give them their flowers. So what they told you was correct. They can't advise that. But they could have at least notified people that it was available if they were interested. And that's completely within the scope of what we are allowed to say and not say. And unless I'm wrong, I didn't see anything. And I'm pretty in tune with what's going on over there. And so are you guys. So surely someone would have seen this, because what you end up doing is, when you want to see something for a public comment period, you can sign up on the portal as an interested party. You then have to sign an NDA related to what you're about to see, and fill out a, what did they tell me? You have to sign an NDA and a different form. I can't remember what they said right now. Oh, a disclosure, if you have any conflicts of interest, a conflict of interest disclosure. If you have, if you're the president of ASHA, you need to tell them that before you get in there, because that will be viewed in their public comment period. The panel who votes gets to see that. You don't get to see each other's. You get to see, these were all questions I asked, because I really wanted to understand this process. You don't get to see each other's. That, if I put in a public comment, you can't read what I wrote. So it is pretty private, which I really appreciated, because typically state public comment periods aren't like that. So that happened, and then it went, the docs voted on it, it's done. So now it was in the valuation period. This was a lie. ASHA said today they're being valued. They have values on them. I know that. I have not seen the values. I may get to down the road. I might not get to. If I get to, that would be great, because one thing that's really important to us is not being alarmist. So if we look at these codes and then we can do some math with their values, we can come to you and say, hey, we did this. In general, you can expect to lose 30% of your revenue. In general, you might lose between 20 and 45% depending on these scenarios. Or we hope that we are right and that we are wrong. And if we are wrong, we will come to you and say, you know what? We've had eyes on the codes and we've had eyes on the values. And generally speaking, you might take a 10 to 15% pay cut, but this maybe isn't worth all the worry that we're all having. We hope that's what I get to do. We are assuming that it's not what we're going to get to do, because I took notes. One thing that ASHA did talk about in their post today was the RVU. I had to get some education on this, and I figured if I didn't understand it, neither would you. So the RVU is the related value. It's the work-related value of the CPT code, meaning for every minute that I, Jeanette, do under 92507, what is the value of that? And in 2015 or 2010, a while ago, at least 10 years ago, our value, are you ready for this? Because when I was being educated on it, I did in fact scream, and I said, that can't be true. Not with a master's degree, certainly. Our value per minute is $1.30. $1.30 is your value, people. Okay? Not here at Fix SLP, you're invaluable. So based on a 60-minute code. Now, 92507 is an untimed code, but when it was created surrounding the practice pattern in the early 90s of seeing people for an hour. So 92507 was in fact based on a 60-minute treatment, even though it's untimed for our use. And so that would equal $78, which is right around what we get. We get right around 70. So, with cuts and stuff over the years, 78 to 70, that's maybe what it is. So to put that into perspective, if they keep the value exactly the same and they chop it in half, so we know it's now a timed code. So if they make it a timed code valued exactly the same at 30 minutes, that means we will get a $39 compensation. If they make that code 15 minutes, $19.50. Okay, so just on those numbers alone, we don't know what the values are. I would think, given that it's been at least 10 years, they've got to throw us, at least 10 more cents a minute, right? I mean, I don't know. Hold on, I need a drink. Okay, but if we're working with the code as it is, and by the way, I thought this was interesting too. I have questions. That 60-minute code was based on 5 minutes of pre-treatment, which we're not allowed to bill for. We have to be with the at least an adult. Maybe you peds are different, but in adult, unless the patient is with us, we can't bill for stuff. 50 minutes of intra space, that's when we're with the patient, and 5 minutes of post, equaling 60. So if you were doing a 30-minute session based on the current time, if they kept all things equal, your employer would make $39. If you were doing 15-minute sessions, your employer would make $19.50. Okay, well, I'm going to see Johnny for 30 minutes, so then I'm going to make $39. And I'm not a math whiz. It's why I went into SLP, but I also should have done 45 minutes for you. So let me get out this old school calculator that isn't working because it's so old. Somebody quick, tell me what's the math. What's 39 plus 1950? 5850? Is that right? Let's go that number. I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. 5850. That's what we're going to say, 45 minutes. So if you give a 45-minute treatment, that's 5850. So are you following me here? if they keep it the same, all things equal, at what point do we get to the $70? And that would be an hour. Let's talk about the economics of this. If we're seeing patients every half hour and making $39, that means we're now making $70 in the hour instead of $140 in compensation. And somebody's saying CMS cuts every year on average, and I think that's why it's gone from 78 to 70. So if you're processing this in your head, how are people going to keep their doors open? And as the world is burning down, I have been hearing from a lot of you in different states, in Ohio, in North Dakota, in Idaho, Medicaids are making deep cuts or complete eliminations. I am only one person, but we will bring that information to you as soon as we can. So if Medicaid is making those cuts, 92507 is being cut with the trickle-down effect to everywhere else. How are we going to continue to get paid? Please, someone make sense for me. Tell me I'm wrong because I'm being called alarmist. Make that make sense. Nobody? Anybody in the back? All right. So again, we don't know the values of these codes. That's just like simple math. This is what it's worth right now, our whole $1.30 a minute. Based on that math, that's what we could be expecting. So what do we do from here? And what I have said is we can try to stop this, but we, this team working on this, don't want to advise you. Well, now I can't. So we can make some suggestions. Hey, there's this something going on. You can watch other pages. There will be things to do, but we don't, right now we're just thinking we're not going to do anything until we're sure we're pretty confident on the values of these codes. Because if we're wrong, nobody has to do anything and we'll all go away and we'll start looking at Idaho and North Dakota and CareSource in Ohio, right? We'll redirect our efforts. So for now, what we're asking is that everyone sit tight. I see people wanting to write letters and leave ASHA alone. I mean, can we be done with them? If you're new here, we've been trying to get ASHA to change since 2.5 years ago. They don't do anything. Come on. If they wanted to do something, it would have happened by now. If they had our best interest at heart, it would have happened by now. And you know what? I'll be the first to say it. If we find out the values of those codes and we're going to make more money or we're going to make equal money, I'll come on here and say ASHA did their job. They fought for us. I'm betting that didn't happen. So we don't want to to do something now when we're still slightly unsure of the values because we could be wrong. We're holding back. Okay. We're holding back. I would say in the next month, there will be something for you to explore or pay attention to, or, because we have meetings amongst ourselves. We have meetings with the AMA. There is active work happening behind the scenes. So if you want to do something, there are a couple things to do. One, subscribe to my newsletter, not because I want newsletter subscribers. I think I've sent a total of 13 or 14, not even 14, total of maybe 13 newsletters in 2.5 years. I don't spam you. You know that if I'm emailing you, it's important. Open it and read it and click the links inside if there are any, because you need that information. So subscribe to my newsletter, because if something gets hidden in the algorithm or reported and it goes, because I don't put anything by ASHA and it gets shut down, then how do I tell you the information, right? So subscribing to the newsletter I own that. That's mine. I don't sell it. It's not on a Facebook group that can be reported and taken away, or a TikTok that another country can be is it all these weird things? No, the newsletter's mine. If you are on my newsletter and I need you to know something, I'm going to send a message via email from team@fixslp.com. So that's thing number one. There is an orange bar at the top of our website, fixslp.com. You click it, it will ask for your email address and your state. And I ask for your state because, like Idaho, we're going to have some things to tell you. People in Texas don't need to hear it. So I will just reach out to you. That's why I ask for your state. I'd love the rest of your information, but you don't have to give it to me. That's fine. So subscribe, please. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram so you get information when I post. And most importantly, share the heck out of this 92507 stuff because that helps other people see it. And here's what I'm going to say. This is a serious SLP issue. This is going to suck if our world burns down. But you know who it's going to suck more for? Because we got skills. We can go work at McDonald's, okay? Probably make more money, more than $1.30 a minute, right? Who this is going to be a problem for are the communities that we serve. If the doors of our local clinics close, if we can't provide Medicaid services in schools anymore, if I can't go scope people so they can swallow again, this will devastate the families and the people that we serve. And they have a right to know that this is happening. They are stakeholders in this too. So any call to action isn't going to be just from us. It is going to be from America as a whole. And I know we have lots of things in America to deal with right now, but we can share these posts outside of our group and get the public interest involved. Okay. So listen, my daughter asked what, because I took a little break, you guys, why are you working so much again? And I told her what I just told you in 10-year-old language. And I said, a lot of moms won't have jobs if this happens. And she's like, and dads. And I said, yeah, and the 12 dads. The 12 dads won't have jobs. And then the 100 moms won't have jobs. So anyway, there's a lot of women in SLP. And there's a lot of women on Facebook. And there are a lot of community and mom groups on Facebook. So you can be sharing the 92507 post now in those groups. And remember, we need to dumb down the language a little bit. 3.5 dads. Thanks, Will. Glad you're here. You're the 0.5, right? So you can just make sure you change the terminology. Make sure you give them like a public interest caption at the top. Like, here's what this means if this happens. We're going to need your support. That's what you can do right now. If you want to do something actively right now, get the word out, because in the next month, there may be a chance for us to all come together and do something together. Again, I won't be able to say, hey, go do it, but it's also not going to be a secret. Anytime the AMA or ASHA publishes something, I'll make sure you know. So today, ASHA updated their website. If you've already commented 92507, you can click that second link with the longer one. And after this, I'm going to go add, or I don't even need to add anything. They just added an update. So if you haven't clicked 92507 on the original post, do that. You'll get the links. You can click it and see what they said today. So I think that's it. I can't answer questions. And here is why. Everything I tell you in writing about 92507 is going to go through the lawyer for Fix SLP. And come on, I never get in trouble for my mouth, right? My mouth gets me in trouble my whole life. So I don't want to try to start answering a question and slip and get in trouble because I've signed this non-disclosure and then ruin this whole thing. So out of protection for myself, because I like my life and I don't need that, and for all of you, so we can continue to communicate like this, I am never going to answer questions publicly because I can't even find typos, let alone monitor myself in public, okay? So keep paying attention. There's nothing else to tell you right now. Again, we have some things we're working on. Things are coming. We've got some meetings this week. We've got some meetings coming up. Just keep paying attention and keep spreading the word because it's going to take more than me. And I'm doing this alone. There's no team helping me. It's me and that other team. It's going to take more than just us. And it is serious. I read it all and I've cried a couple times about it because it feels very heavy. Okay. I can't we gotta wrap this up. It's way longer than I wanted it to be anyway. So I'll be back in touch. This is a good thing. Just keep watching, keep spreading the word. And thank you for being a part of the community. Bye guys.